Hey, welcome back, everybody. Sarcasm Speaks here, Jared and Bob coming at you. I guess out of the gate, I we can give a shout out to local guy, fellow Medfordonian, Joe Sacco, who is now the interim head coach of the Boston Bruins. So, wasn't Jim Montgomery from around here too? Was he a Charlestown guy?
I don't know. Yeah, I remember. I don't know. I don't know where Jim Montgomery was from, but yeah, Joe Sack was from Medford. He actually played in the NHL.
Yeah, he played
Um,
for the Avalanche. No. Did he play for the
no,
Avalanche? He was a bench coach there for a while, I think.
he was a head coach there too.
Okay.
Um, Leafs, Ducks, Islanders, Capitals, Flyers. So he played, but he didn't really play.
Yeah, he was a journeyman.
Like 740 games, he had like 200 points, just over 200 points, like 94 goals. Like that's just really not that much.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
was a third, fourth liner.
Yeah. So Sacco himself, okay, he was the head coach 2009, 2010.
Oh, wow. It was that long ago?
It was that long ago. And in 2010, he was a finalist for the Jack Adams Award.
Wow.
Uh, Fourth year, he was fired after his fourth year. And he's been an assistant with the Bruins since 2014. Holy shit.
Wow. So was he
Um,
was he here under Claude? When did we get rid of Claude?
Must have been because 2014, that wasn't Butch.
Yeah, because they lost in 2013 to the Blackhawks, and that was
Yeah.
still Claude.
2014 was that was another wasn't that a President's Trophy year?
Could have been.
And then they lost in the first round again.
Yeah, that sounds right. Was either 14 or 16.
Definitely wasn't 16. I don't think they were very good. Claude was still here, first in the Atlantic. I mean, dude, they had 117 points. They lost in the second round to the Canadians, not the first. Okay.
Yeah.
I also don't see I don't see President's Trophy, but that doesn't mean they didn't win it. Um,
They
but yes, it
were
was still
fifth in the Atlantic Division, so they did not win the
no,
President's
not
Trophy.
that year. The 13-14 season.
Oh, right. Sorry, backing up. Yeah, first in the Atlantic Division. Um,
They did win it that year, and they
yeah,
lost in the second round. Pretty fucking cool. But um, so yeah, I mean, he's kind of been a journeyman player, a journeyman coach. In 1985-86, he had 60 points for the Medford High Mustangs. S- and they definitely won a state title that year. Now, it's unclear as to whether or not they're going to bring on Sean Bates, also local guy. Um, so obviously, I mean, yeah. So also from Medford, also played in the NHL. They definitely had a better career than Sacco. Um,
Yeah.
but so the funny thing is, Joe Sacco actually played NHL. His brother Dave Sacco also made it to the NHL, but I don't think he really played. So they used to do this like Sacco Brothers hockey camp. So it was like the Saccos, Sean Bates would usually help out, and they had like Igor the crazy Russian or some shit. Um that always used to be fun, fucking Igor. So I actually saw because I was like I looked up Sean Bates because I joked like, oh yeah, they're just gonna get him and it's gonna be a big Medford reunion in Boston. In 1993, now again, this is high school. Sean Bates had 95 points in 25 games. He had 49 goals.
Wow.
He averaged 2 goals a game.
Holy shit.
He had 80 the year before that. And I mean, he eventually went on to play at BU and actually, like at BU, he like scored, he put up
Right.
points, got drafted. Like even, even for like the not the Bruins, but for the Islanders, like he had a year, he had 1735 for 52 points. Like he had 52 points, 42, 32, 34. Like he put up points for some years.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, nothing crazy here, but whatever. So I was on his Wikipedia though, because I was trying to find out because everyone used to say, "Oh, well, if his brother Dapper didn't fucking love the hooch, he would have been better than Sean." I'm like, I just don't see that, man. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
pretty good. But anyway, so I was on his Wikipedia, and obviously, like, no one's checking the Sean Bates Wikipedia, right?
No.
So you have playing career, you have international play, and then there's something that just says ceremonial, and it says throughout the ceremonial first pitch at the championship game of the Medford, Mass. Little League City Series in June 1993. The game between the Angels and the Bears was eventually won Angels 5-4 with a walk-off home run by catcher Joe Bradanese. So I don't know who actually went on the Wikipedia to put that in. But that seems like oddly specific. So it's like if I was gonna guess who like actually did that, I would start my look with the walk-off home run hitting catcher.
Yeah, yeah, I would say.
Like who the fuck put this in here? But yeah, 1993, that would have been the year he was drafted because I think he got drafted and then went to college. Um, yes, he did. So yeah, unrelated note. But yeah, I was gonna say that was in my searches today of Bateses and the Sackos and Medford hockey.
Pretty solid. I did see something though that since Cam Neely has become either vice president or president, right? Because he's now the president, but years ago he was the vice president. Since Cam Neely became vice president of the Bruins, they've now fired three Jack Adams Award winners.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
two of them are within like 3 years, I think, of winning the award. So I think Claude won it in like '08. It was like his second or third year with the team. And obviously he got fired in whatever, 14, 15, whatever it was. Um, and then but Cassidy won it in 19 and then got fired in 21. And then Montgomery won it in 22.
it would have been 2 years ago.
Yeah, so he won it in
President's Trophy,
22
first round exit.
and then he got fired in 24.
Yeah, I was talking to someone about this too, right? Because in 2011 they won the Stanley Cup.
Right. Which was the fluke. I think we can
In
all get on board that 2011 was the fluke year.
well, let's have this conversation and then we can discuss if 2011 then was a fluke. Um,
Well, I mean, yeah, yeah, we'll get back to it, but yeah.
I want to say it was like '07 or '08. One of those years was when they got Chara, Mark Savard,
Mhm.
guys like that. So
Yeah,
like that's when you could like argue because they were bad. Like they were a bad fucking team.
they
And I
were
think
pretty
one
bad.
of those years was when they drafted Phil Kessel fifth overall. Like it's all in that like '06 to '09 type
Yeah,
of
because I think they
era.
got Chara in '06.
Yeah, it was something like that. Like the '06, '07. I think you got Chara. I want to say like you might have drafted Kessel in '06 too, which means '05 you were dog shit or was there a season? Yeah, there was. No, there was. Yeah, there was.
Yeah,
Sorry. Um, which means you were shitty that year. You traded Joe Thornton like in that same time.
Right.
So they were not very fucking good.
In a terrible trade,
And they really didn't
Margot Sturm.
like they really hadn't been like an actual threat since like early 90s.
Right. Right.
So they're in a little bit of no man's land, but then like, you get Chara. And I forget some of the other guys they signed. It doesn't matter.
I mean, at one point they got Boychuk, right? I mean, that whether they drafted him or
That's
traded
later. I
for
think
him
that's later. And I think they did they trade? Yeah, did they trade for him or
or
was he?
McQuaid.
I don't know. But these like Savard and Chara were like the two that kind of like,
Right.
at least for me, started to like semi-legitimize this. And I mean, you drafted Bergeron in '03, so he was probably starting to come on in like '07, when he turned like fucking 15 or whatever.
Yeah, McQuaid was drafted in '05.
Yeah, so it's like some of these guys have been starting to come up or starting to, or you signed whoever. So then in kind of culminated because then like a couple years later you or it might have been '06 too. That might have been the trade Ray Croft for Tuca.
Yeah.
So you had Tuca in the holster. You had Tim Thomas kind of coming on. You were past the days of Byron Defoe and Hanu Toivonen and fucking Steve Shields and whatever other bums they would roll out there. And like Chara was like, a legit guy. Mark Savard was scoring like he was putting up numbers.
Yeah.
So that brings you to like kind of like 2010 and 2010 was the 3-0 collapse, right?
Yes.
So that was the 3-0 collapse of the Flyers.
To the Philly. Yeah.
Was that also the year that Mark Savard got fucking knocked out?
Yeah. When he got
It
his
might have
brain
been.
scrambled.
But in the second round of the playoffs in 2010, like you should have moved on. Like you should have made the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Okay. Choked that one away. So the next year, 2011, Tim Thomas is unbelievable. He plays out of his mind. Overtakes Tuca as the starter. He's back. He plays so good all year.
Yeah.
And that third and fourth line were so much of a difference maker in the playoffs. You won the cup.
Right. Right.
Fine. So then 2012, you come out, you lose in the first round to the fucking Capitals, Joe Ward.
Yeah.
2013, you're good again. Lose in the Stanley Cup Finals because your guys can't fucking score goals.
Yeah.
Everyone's favorite guy, Jaromir Jagr, can't score a fucking goal. How many career goals does that guy have? A billion?
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. Couldn't muster two in the fucking Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
Neither could Marchand.
Yeah. Marchand sucked.
They all sucked. Sagan sucked. Like they
Yeah.
all sucked. So they were all absolute bums losing the Stanley Cup. 14, President's Cup, losing the second round. And then I think 15, 16, I don't think you were very good whatsoever. Or maybe it was 16, 17. Doesn't matter. So you rebuild a touch, whatever, gets you back. Like, you make the playoffs in 17. You maybe win a playoff series in 18. I mean, you got bounced by Tampa both times, probably, but you beat the Maple Leafs, like whatever.
Yeah. They missed the
19,
playoffs in back-to-back years,
15, 16.
15, 16. And then I think that's when they fired Claude. Nope. He came back for one more year and they lost in the first round to the
The Ottawa.
Senators
Yeah.
in 17.
So then 18,
Then
19,
they fired him.
you were pretty much playing, or I guess 18, you probably beat Tampa, beat Toronto, lost to Tampa. Then 19, you're gifted the path to the playoffs. Tampa gets knocked out.
Yep.
You get the Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference Finals. You get through them, no problem. And then
You
it's the
swept them.
fucking Blues. It's the
Yeah.
Blues in the final.
Yeah.
And you lose game 7 on home ice
Yep.
without even a fucking pulse.
Yeah.
And then 22, I mean, 2021, I don't know. They were just like kind of regular years. 22, President's Trophy. Like you set the record. You have the most wins ever in a fucking NHL season. First round loss. And now you can't beat the Panthers. All of that has happened since 2010, which is when Cam Neely took over here. He's
Yeah.
the only constant the whole time. And
Yeah.
I know he doesn't play,
Right.
but he's the one who's making decisions. He's the one who's bringing these coaches in. Flowed, that was probably a good idea to move on from.
Right.
Cassidy, that's gonna fucking sting for a long time.
Yeah.
That's gonna really sting for a long time. And I don't. What was he coaching the guys too hard? Was that the problem?
Yeah. He was mean.
He was mean. Orange man bad. He
Yeah.
tweet mean things.
Yeah. Yeah, he was
So they
so
got rid of
mean.
him and
He
they
was
brought
so
in
mean and so
Montgomery.
bad that he goes to Vegas and wins a cup.
Terrible.
Yeah.
And then so what happens? So
Can't have that guy in
you
Boston
let
though.
him go. You fire him. He
Yep.
goes to Vegas, wins a cup in the same year that your nice coach wins the President's Trophy and loses in the first fucking round.
Yeah.
And no matter what happens in these playoff games, your guys that score goals do not score in the playoffs. They just don't fucking do it. And
Yeah.
it's like there's nothing to say that Cam Neely has anything to do with that. There's no tactical, nope, tangible. There's no tangible reason why Jaromir Jagr has 1 billion goals. So I think we looked that up and fact checked that. He has 1 billion goals
Yes.
and could not score.
In
Sagan
600
could not
years.
score.
Yeah.
Marchand could not score. These guys, they just couldn't score. 2019 was the same thing. None of them could fucking score.
Right.
And it just continues to happen under Cam Neely. What happens in the draft? They draft like shit. Now that's been Sweeney most of the time, but like they draft like shit.
Yeah.
They draft these guys, they can't develop them. So not only do they pick the wrong guys, then they can't develop the guys.
So the other constant that I would say, and let me preface by saying I absolutely fucking love Patrice Bergeron. He's one of my favorite hockey players of all time. Um, but the Bruins have never had a bona fide goal scorer, like a difference maker. Patrice Bergeron, fantastic, right?
No, he
The
was your
best
first, like
two-way
he was your
forward in the game, right? Like I
Pavel
get it, like the whole
Datsyuk.
thing, like yeah, it's Bergeron and Datsuk, right? It's like the whole, I get it. They never had, well, they did actually. They had Joe Thornton, but then they got rid of him. But they never had
Which
a,
Thornton would get like he'd have like 70 assists on the season and like 25 goals.
yeah, yeah. They
Like
never had a Crosby or a Stamkos. I know those guys are like next level, but like
they
someone
never even
like
had a
that.
Mitch Marner or a Braden Point. Those are more
Exactly.
recent guys.
Right. Or a Drysidle, right?
Patrick Laine. Like
Yeah.
if you just want a fucking guy who just rips the puck,
Patrick Kane, right? Like they never had,
Kovalchuk.
yeah, they never had the bona fide goal scorer, the guy that you knew was fucking cold blooded and nasty and would just score when you needed to score, right? That's why they lost in 13. They had a roster full of great guys, insanely talented, but none of them were cold
Couldn't
blooded
score.
fucking killers, right? Like
They just couldn't put the
Patrick
puck in.
Kane
Like
in that
that's the other thing.
series, he was fucking nasty.
They just couldn't put the puck in the net, and they got beat. They also got beat by bums. Brian Bickle,
Yeah. Yeah.
bums. Like, and that I mean, that's also like the tough thing. Like the Blackhawks, they had to be bad to get Patrick Kane and Patrick Tays.
Right.
Like
Right.
but this is the thing. They either drafted well or
They
developed their
could have
players, if
had
not both.
they might have had that in Sagan.
Yeah, but then he's
And they
like
let
out
him
there.
and they
What he
let him
fucked
go.
Nathan Horton's wife? Is
Yeah.
that what is
Yeah.
that the prevailing theory of these days?
Yeah. And they got rid of him.
Yeah, and the other thing though, Chloe didn't
And
fucking like let
Claude
him
wouldn't play
play.
him. They couldn't develop him, right? So you could have had that bona fide goal scorer in Sagan, but he, pun intended, fucked it up. And then you couldn't develop him anyway, right?
Yeah.
So like Phil Kessel, right? They had Kessel. They got rid of him. They couldn't develop him. Like they've
Well,
had
they ended up
opportunities.
getting Sagan for that.
Well, yeah, true. Like they've had the opportunities. And then, I mean, by the time they got Taylor Hall, like he was a
No, Hall
shell.
was old.
Yeah, he was
Nash,
old.
they were too late on Nash,
Yeah.
Ginla,
Yeah, earlier in
Yager.
his career, Aginla, what would have been that guy, right?
And I
but
think
not when
Iginla
he
was good
was.
that year. Shatan,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
got all of these guys. Backus is the worst. He's the most
Oh
egregious
yeah,
example of that. They got
yeah,
him legitimately 5 years too late.
yeah.
And he wasn't even that good. Those other guys I named, those were fucking goal scorers.
Right, right.
Like the last time that you had like so Pasternak is a good goal scorer,
Yeah, I would say
but
I would give
Pasternak
them
he
pasta.
disappears at times, or he'll score 2 goals in a 5-2 win, or
Yeah, he's not a again, he's not a killer, right? He doesn't have the killer instinct. Like he's an insanely talented player and he's very good at scoring goals, but he's not uh a Crosby or one of
no,
those
he's also
guys.
and the hard part is he's also not a center. He probably has
Well,
one of the
yeah.
best shots from the what's that the left hand side? Yeah, left of the goal.
Yeah,
He has one of the best shots from that side of the goal. But like, yeah, I mean, he's not a center. He's
right,
not
right.
the I'm gonna stick handle and I'm going to like no, you need someone needs to set him up.
Yeah, he's turnover fall over.
Some of that coming back just doesn't fucking work. Um, but no matter what, there is an underperformance, a lack of fucking balls
Yeah,
the whole time. Now, if you want to tell me, hey, they probably don't beat that Blackhawks team, I probably agree with you.
yeah.
That Blackhawks team was fucking loaded. Like they were nasty. So you want to tell me it's like okay, 13?
Kucherov. That would have been like Nikita Kucherov. Like he's fucking nasty. And he's not a
Yeah, and it's
center.
like no, he's not. Yeah, I mean, like you think of a guy and it's like you go back, like you'd have to go back some time. Like they used to have these guys used to play. It's like Brendan Shanahan, like
Yeah,
just on the wing. Um, I mean, Kovalchuk was the best. Like he was like the biggest example of that.
right,
And they had Savard until he got knocked out.
right,
So it's
right.
like, yeah, okay, so some bad luck there. But all they've done is underperform under Neely because if you want to say the 11 was a fluke, or if you want to say that was the one year they actually played to their abilities,
Yeah.
I would argue they actually played to their abilities
Yeah, and I
because the
think
way that
so.
they were built, and they got perfect. The it broke their way because they got
I
Vancouver
was
in the
just gonna,
finals.
yeah, but that, and I was also gonna say that they, Tim Thomas was a literal brick wall
Yes,
between the pipes that in that
and
playoff run. So,
but you can only beat who's in front of you. So they did
right,
get lucky that it was Vancouver because if it was one year later and it was those 2012 Kings, wouldn't have been close.
yeah, yeah,
Because they played with fucking balls, but like
yeah,
Vancouver was a bunch of pussies. And I think Kessler was hurt. I think he's the only one that played with a fucking sack, and I think he was hurt that thing. But they're all hurt. Everyone's hurt by then.
right,
So it's like
yeah,
that doesn't I don't fucking care about that.
yeah,
But again, you can only play like who's in front of you. So it's like you needed to win in 19. You had to win in 19. You want to tell me that you win the President's Trophy and like don't win the cup? Okay. You can't lose to Montreal in 7 games at home.
yeah,
You can't back up your title defense by losing to the Capitals and Joel Ward.
yeah,
Like you just can't do these things.
right, right.
And yet it's all they've done in 15 years. And even their rebuilds, they weren't even long. They rebuild fast somehow.
I know somehow they were able to kind of pull it off.
But and the only constant's been Neely the whole time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Now, Claude, I don't think Claude was good for developing players. So it's like you won your cup, you moved on from him. Shouldn't have fucking left Cassidy.
no,
Even at the time, I'm like, I didn't understand it. I'm like, why are they moving on from this guy? What's the problem?
yeah, yeah, because he was mean.
You should have been mean. They can't fucking score in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
Marchand, he's old now. He's not the goal scorer he was, but he was like a legit goal scorer for
Oh
like
yeah.
probably like I mean like a real threat for like a 4 year span.
Yeah.
Yeah, that encompassed that 29 Blues series, and all he did was go around and take fucking penalties.
Yeah, it
Like,
was
what the
like he
fuck is happening?
yeah. Yeah.
Dumbass penalty after dumbass penalty with him. No goals or few goals, whatever it was.
Yeah, so then
Now it's like you can, and now you can't beat the Panthers. The Florida motherfucking Panthers. And I know they won last year. I get it. The Panthers, really? Like Matt Kachuk looks like Wayne Gretzky against you, and fucking
yeah.
Sam Reinhart looks like Mark Messier. Like
Yeah.
these guys are fucking castaways and bums. Bennett, they look all world against you.
Yeah, Marchand had a 4-year stretch where he was pushing 40 goals. So from the season ending in 16, 17, 18, 19, he had 37, 39, 34, 36 goals.
Yeah, he was
And
like a
then in
legitimate, like,
19, he had 100 points.
yeah, he was like a legitimate scoring threat every time he touched the puck.
Yeah.
And then he went full retard in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
And he was another one, didn't score anything in 13.
Yeah, he had 100 points that year in 19.
So fucking annoying. And it's like, I don't know if the Bruins ownership group, I don't know if they care. It doesn't seem like it because they've always just been like just good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, that's always been the talk around the town here, right? Is that the Jacobs family only cares enough to keep the team relevant, to keep the money coming in. They don't really give a shit if they win a cup. They're not going to spend the money.
But they actually did this time. They
Yeah,
paid Swayman. They went out and got
yeah.
the Lindholm forward.
Which is because now the kid's running it. I don't know the kid. Is it Jeremy Jr.
I don't even know.
or Steve? No, Steven Jacobs, I think is the kid.
And that's
Because
fine. But like they
Jeremy's got
went
to be like fucking in his 90s at this point.
like yeah, but like they got the Lindholm forward. They paid Swayman, which also anyone now they wanted him signed, but now is saying bad signing. Go
Yeah.
fuck yourself.
Yeah.
And there was another sign. Zadarov, is that a guy? I don't have Nesson anymore. I can't watch the fucking games.
I know nothing about the team this year.
We haven't
I
had Nesson in a long
no
time. I keep saying that like it's a new thing.
yeah. The only time
When was the last time you had Nesson? It had to have been in Mansfield, right?
yeah, I would say Mansfield.
We haven't had Nesson in like fucking 4 full years.
So the only time I get to watch a Bruins game is when it's on national TV
Yeah.
or like when I was in San Francisco, the Bruins were on election night. So I watched the Bruins instead of the election coverage because I was out of market, so I got to watch it.
Yeah. That's the thing. If you had ESPN Plus and
I,
you
yeah,
weren't in the right market, you could watch
I
whatever.
got to stream it on ESPN Plus because I was out of market. So that's why I watched it that Tuesday night. That's the last time I've watched a Bruins game. Actually, to be fair, it's the only Bruins game that I've watched this season.
Yeah, I don't know if I've even watched one. I have some strong opinions for a guy who hasn't watched one this year. I mean, what the fuck am I gonna watch? It was 3-0 before anyone even fucking knew they were playing yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't see how they. I mean, it's been like this since 12. If the players aren't going to play to their own fucking potential, then it doesn't matter who's behind the bench.
Right.
And it
Yeah, I
seems like that's
agree.
been a problem since then.
Yeah.
They don't live up to their potential or they go fucking quiet when it really actually truly matters.
Yeah, because I mean, at this point, there's no one left from those old teams other than Marchand.
Well, Marchand's still here, but like again, it's just like and this is what I mean. It's like it's an irrational thing. It's because you can't How the fuck would Cam Neely have an effect on the team failing in both 13 and 19?
Right.
How does he have two President's Cup or President's Trophy seasons? One is an all time, and you have a first round loss in Game 7 at home and a second round loss to the Canadians in Game 7 at home.
Right.
How do you lose that Joe Ward game? How do you give up 3-0 to the Flyers?
Yeah.
And you never even should have got there in 13 because you had to play the Maple Leafs and they pissed down their leg. Great comeback, but my fucking God.
Yeah.
How do you go up 3-0 in the series, lose, and go up 3-0 in the game, lose? How's that even possible?
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Or 3-0 or 4-1, whatever it was. It was fucking it was stupid.
Yeah. So, yeah,
I don't know, maybe they overachieved in 13 too.
probably.
Sure lost the Maple Leafs. I don't know, man. It's just like maybe it's the scouting department. Like they are just not getting like they got McAvoy and they just like don't get guys that just fucking do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of seems to be the issue, right? Is they, like I said, like they've historically been pretty good at drafting defensemen, right? Um, but not so much really with the forwards.
I don't know if it's even been that good. I don't know. It also depends on what you're looking for too. Because like, sign Chara, sign Seidenberg.
Yeah.
I
But I
think they
mean,
drafted Boychuk. Like
they did not.
McQuaid's fun.
They
Yeah, I didn't
drafted
think so.
McQuaid. They traded for Boychuk. Um, but I
Krug
mean,
was
like
later.
they drafted Krug. They drafted obviously McAvoy,
Grizzlick.
um, Grizzlick. Yeah, like
I mean, they had to sign Lindholm. It's just, I don't know, man. Like, and it's hard when you do make the playoffs. It's hard to get any of the guys we named earlier, any of them. Hard to get those guys, or it's
right,
hard to. I don't know where Jamie Benn was drafted, but like, hard to get those guys. Hard to find those guys.
right, right.
They don't just show up out of nowhere.
Yeah,
And even like Patrick Laine, like I mentioned him because he was like a deadly goal scorer for like a 3-year span, but now he's bouncing around teams. So obviously he's not really what you're looking for here.
right,
Good
right,
hired gun, but I mean he's Shatan
right,
for a playoff team. That's it.
right, right.
But that's the thing is like then, but the guys who have given you fits over the years, Marner, Kachuk, Braden Point. Like those were not the guys that we were naming when you named Stamkos and Crosby and Malkin and Ovechkin. Like those are not those guys. But those
No.
guys give you absolute fits, and you have nobody that can do that for 15 years.
So there you have it.
That's like 40 minutes on the Bruins
Yeah, I know.
for a guy who for a combined like one watch game this year.
Um, yeah, let me see what oh, the if you want to continue on the baffling doesn't make any sense. Um, the DOD came out and announced that they couldn't account for their 824 million or 848 million, whatever it is. I'm sorry, billion with a
I was
B.
just say you're
Uh,
missing some zeros.
yeah, it's like $840 billion budget. They could not pass their audit. And then I saw something else that said they spent $178 million auditing the DoD just to find out that they couldn't complete the audit. So they spent 178 million to tell people they don't know what happened to the 840 billion.
Isn't it also failed the audit like many years in a row?
Every single year since the auditing process has begun.
I think it's been 7.
they've never once been able to pass an audit.
In people don't want Vivek and Musk to like look into this.
Yeah.
Eight
No,
hundred
because
whatever $1 billion that they
no, because
can't.
they're mean. They're
And
bad
it's not they
people.
didn't and like to be clear, they didn't lose 800 billion. It's just they have an 800 whatever $1 million budget, $1 billion budget.
Yeah.
And I want to say the correct words where they can't account for it. Like they failed the
Right.
audit and they can't account for all of the money.
Right. Which, listen, I'm okay with the fact that the DOD kind of can't really tell you where some of the money goes. I'm fine with that, right? Like I understand that you can't openly admit that we funded like, a, $1 billion of some like top secret black site that we have in like the middle of Africa somewhere. I get it, right? Like there's certain things that, the US government can't make public, but just say that, right? Like be like,
You still pass an audit because you there should be a classified
yeah,
there should be a
classified
fund for
operations, right?
classified
Like
operations or
classified.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like if a quarter of the budget, 200 billion, goes to classified operations, it's like, okay, and do you certify that the money is being spent on these operations that you can't share details of with me? And it's like, yeah, certify, whatever.
Yeah.
That should technically pass an audit.
Right. You would think.
I don't know, man. Like, if you, why are we giving you 824 billion if you can't keep track of it?
Yeah.
That's all it means to me.
Yeah.
And
I
if you
mean, that's
can't
how
keep
I look
track
at
of
it
it,
too.
so we're paying 200 million to audit this shit. Like this,
Yeah. There
the
was
math
like a
doesn't
hundred,
work
I
out
think
for
there was
me.
like 150,000 auditors that worked on the audit.
Just to say they failed.
Yeah. So it was like 100 or maybe 15,000, whatever. It was either 15,000 or 150,000. Maybe I'm off a zero. Um, but there was, let's however many auditors they had cost $200 million to come back and say, yeah, they failed the budget. They failed the audit. We don't know where the money went.
And then what are the repercussions?
There are none.
So why audit?
Exactly. That's the follow-up
That's
question.
my
Like,
so
if there's
this is
no
where I would start.
accountability or no repercussions, then what are we doing? Why
Yeah,
do
we
it in the
either
first
need to
place?
not audit them because 7 years in a row isn't a fucking accident. So we either need to not audit or they need accountability, one way or the other.
Right. I agree with that. 100%.
We just tell it, be like, how much can you account for? It's like, oh, we can account for 580. Okay, cool. You can have 585 next year.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we need more than that. Clearly not, because you can't account for it. So
Yeah. Yeah. You don't know where it went, so we can't give it to you.
funny, I feel like they'd find it all
Yeah.
if they did that.
Yeah. Well, that's the I think you sent it to me or you sent it to our Twitter group at one point. It was like a quote from Warren Buffett that said if you want to fix the budget deficit in the United States, you pass a ruling or pass a law that says whenever there's a deficit, any politician that's currently in office becomes ineligible to run for reelection. And they would fix the deficit in a day.
They would. I'd be so chaotic too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of looking forward to you know, January, getting things started. with culling the government or the federal government at least. I'm mostly interested to see um, that Department of Government Efficiency, right, and what it actually does and how
I think
long
it's
it
going to end up
takes.
being a lot less than we all think it will or
Oh,
want it to be.
100%. It's definitely going to be way less than what they're sort of like touting right now. But anything is better than nothing,
Yeah, I mean, it's a joke.
right? Like all these things are coming out. What was it? I follow them on Twitter. I follow the account. They have an account, the Department of Government Efficiency account on Twitter. There was something I saw the other day that was like the federal government spent like $30 million on a study where they gave like beagles cocaine or something like that. Let me see if I can um yeah, okay, here you go. So they just keep tweeting out everything that the government is spending money on, which is hilarious. So this is from a day ago. They said items your tax dollars are being spent on. And it's just three bullet points. The first one is $100,000 to study if tequila or gin makes sunfish more aggressive. They spent $100,000 of taxpayers' money giving gin and tequila to sunfish. So that's great. I know in the grand scheme, like $100,000 isn't a lot, but like you couldn't have used it literally any other better way. You couldn't have given like a DPW in like rural Iowa that money, right? To like pay their workers more so they can handle their roads better. You know what I mean? Like it's
I'd
just,
actually rather that the Department of Defense just like couldn't account for that than
yeah,
you telling me what it went to.
yeah, yeah. Um, oh, this is one. Nearly $1 million to study if cocaine makes Japanese quail more sexually promiscuous. They spent $1 million giving cocaine to Japanese quail. All right. And then the next one is $750,000 to study if the moon landing line was one small step for man or one small step for a man. The results of that study were inconclusive.
Of course they were.
You want to talk about like the most inconsequential part of the moon landing is what the fucking guy said. Did he say one small step for man or one small step for a man? I don't know. Let's spend $250,000 trying to figure out what he actually said. Oh, cool. The study's over. What'd you guys find? Now we couldn't
Nothing.
figure it out. So where'd that $250,000 go? Oh, I don't know. We just
To
had to.
determine that we couldn't figure it
Yeah,
out.
yeah. So I mean, right there, you're looking at, you know, almost $2 million, which again is a drop in the bucket when you have a $1 trillion deficit, but still $2 million you can get rid of on day one, right? Like we ain't gonna do those bullshit studies anymore. Something interesting that I saw that they posted too was in 1955, there was less than 1.5 million words in the US tax code. Today, there are over 16 million words. Because of this complexity, Americans collectively spend 6.5 billion hours preparing and filing their taxes each year. And they go, the
You could,
tax code needs to be simplified.
I'd be
So
in.
1955 was what, 70 years ago, right? Roughly 69. Um, well, it'll be 70 years when we do our taxes next year. So in 70 years, the tax code has gone from 1.5 million words to over 16 million.
Yep. You can get rid of a lot of those words.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I'm interested to see what they can what they can pull together, right? Like you said though, I'm not under any impression that, you know, they're going to do everything that they're saying, or like they're going to do these like sweeping giant things, but um anything is better than nothing, right? It's got to start somewhere. Let me see if I got anything else. I got to check our Twitter, our Twitter group. Um, oh, this is actually, I might use that as my final thought. Yeah. Do you have anything, or you want to wrap this up?
We can wrap this up.
All right. What do you got?
So I guess piggybacking off the Bruins, we are going to go to an away game.
Yes.
We're going to go to the game in Tampa. And yeah, it's in Tampa. The weather will be good. It's March, whatever. Gets us out. Obviously, we haven't been to a game in a while.
Right.
Last one was 2021, Carolina.
Yeah.
Jones got deployed, so we couldn't even come.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. That was the last one we did, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well 22 we had too many bachelor parties. I think we had
Right.
five. We had five.
Yeah.
I had
23,
five. I
23.
had
The
five.
team sucked.
23, the team was awful. You had a child,
Yes.
and the schedule was also not great
Yeah.
because we probably would have actually booked something, but the schedule was awful.
Yep.
All the destinations just like kind of didn't work.
Yeah. It was like,
And it
was
came,
it
it
Minnesota was on Thanksgiving?
was like Minnesota was
Arizona was a Monday
Thanksgiving,
night.
Monday night game. Something was around Christmas. Like
Yeah.
we just got kind of fucked, and that's why it was like we could go to uh Miami in September.
Yep. Or like it was Green Bay in the
Yeah, we
first week
weren't
in
going to Green
November or
Bay.
something.
It just like wasn't good. Like the
Yeah.
schedule just like wasn't
Or
fucking good at
Dallas was
all.
another option, I think.
Yeah, but Dallas and Vegas are crazy money
Right.
to go to.
Right. Right.
So it's like, yeah, we just kind of we just ran into everything. Like everything with that schedule was the two expensive destinations were possible, but they're very expensive. Like
Right.
they're a lot just to even get there.
Yeah.
Like I think the flights to Dallas for a Patriots game were the same price to fly to fucking Rome.
Jesus. Yeah.
I want to say they were like 1,200 bucks
Yeah.
just in flights. Um, yeah, then like some of the cool destinations wasn't really like conducive.
Right.
And then the classics, Buffalo was week 17,
Yeah.
which can be sketchy on weather and also could have been a meaningless game. It was a meaningless game.
Right.
Or Miami, but Miami was in like September. It might have been like week 2 last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like you definitely weren't going to be able to go. We were going to be going to Miami during hurricane season.
Yeah.
Like it just didn't
And it was going to be
make a
like
lot of sense.
95.
It's like it just didn't make a lot of sense. So no game
Yeah.
last year. And then this year, my big thing was I didn't want to go for this team.
Yeah.
Like they didn't sign a left tackle. They didn't hire a GM.
Right.
Why? Why would I want to support that shit?
Yeah.
And then yes, going to Chicago, it was like an expensive ticket, but Um, Bigger reasons outside of just like the ticket price. But um, so yeah, we're gonna go to the hockey game. Now, obviously, the Bruins fired their coach. They fucking suck. So here we are. But the interesting thing is Ybor City. And I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. Actually, I don't give a fuck if I'm pronouncing it wrong. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Now, Ybor City is it's effectively a neighborhood. It's almost like the French Quarter in New Orleans, where like that's like um like the historic city center, if you will.
Right, right,
I don't think that's quite the same like description for Ybor City. Historic neighborhood in Tampa is how it's described on Wikipedia. I got the Wikipedia up. It was founded in the 1880s with a ton of immigrants from Cuba, Spain, and Italy. So the big thing was they were producing tons of cigars. So um that was like their big thing, even to the point of like they have a nickname of like Cigar City. Um so we're gonna stay there. And I don't know much about it. My barber seemed to say that, hey, you're gonna get some good people watching, whatever. And it's like, you know what, dude? Like we're in and out for 2 days. Um, you know, everyone who's going on this trip has been to New Orleans, so I can't imagine it's much different than that.
right,
And I don't know, I mean, like I'm kind of interested, like it's an older type of spot,
right,
um,
right,
as far as we're concerned. And I like the idea that they've got the Cuban, Italian, Spanish influence to it. Um,
right.
so we're gonna do that. And so I was doing some research ahead of time, and it was, of course, I look up like top restaurants. First one, obviously it's an Italian place. I go, great, here we fucking go. I'm like, I
Yeah,
thought this was like Cuban fucking territory with like cigar factory. I'm like, why is it an Italian restaurant? I'm like, all right, well, let me look at it. Look at the menu. Menu looks good. Like it does.
yeah.
But I see something on the website and it's a little tab called dress code. And I'm like, well, this place is out. Let me just at least see what it says. And it's like, oh yeah, no, it's like, this is a place where we usually celebrate or people celebrate, whatever. We usually require like whatever dress and men should have each they should at least cover up their arms. And I'm like, well, I knew this was gonna be a problem with dress code. I go,
Yeah,
fuck that. I ain't doing that shit. I'll tell you that much.
yeah.
Um,
Well, then I
so I've
said to
yet
you
to
when you
like,
when you said that to me on Saturday when me, you, and Vinny were talking, I was like, that's two things I think of. One, it's either like extremely white collar or it's gang ridden and you can't like
right,
it's trying to hide gang tattoos. Both
which
of those you want to talk about like polar opposite ends of the
it's
spectrum,
literally
but
polar opposites.
but neither one of those I'm particularly interested in.
Yeah. Um, and that's the other, like I know Tampa itself, like it's not the nicest place in the world, but
Yeah,
whatever.
just go hang out at the trop.
Yeah.
Maybe the ceiling will fall.
Yeah, it'll just fall on me. Um, but yeah, I mean, so like looking at it, it looks like, yeah, I mean, it's just like a historic downtown type of area. So I'm interested to see it. Probably be able to get our hands on a hand rolled cigar at some point.
Yeah,
Um, bourbon
cigar
cigar.
bar, burr cigar.
Um, so we'll see. I mean, I'm guessing Cuban sandwiches won't be hard to find.
Probably not.
I mean, as a guy who's been to Italy, I can go and compare all the Italian stuff to what it would be back in Rome, Florence, and Venice, even though all of the immigrants came from Sicily. So obviously it'll be a fair comparison.
Yeah, of course.
But ultimately, yeah, I mean, should be fun. I mean, the game will be the game. We're sitting all the way up, like
Yeah,
back to the wall.
I mean, that's fine.
That's what it was. So
Which is funny too. I don't know if I don't think I sent it to the group. Um, but Big Jim Murray posted. I think there was a game last night for the Bruins and they were selling tickets and like the nosebleeds were like 20, $30. And he goes, "Geesh, I haven't seen tickets this bad in years."
Yep. Well,
I
don't
was
worry.
going to send it to you and be
By
like, "Oh, dude,
March,
we should have waited to buy
yeah,
tickets."
don't worry. By March, just don't go on Ticketmaster and look at the prices for those games.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Just don't do it because I
yeah.
don't think the tickets are refundable.
Is Tampa any good this year? I'm assuming they
I don't
are.
know.
They usually are.
I don't know. They don't have Stamkos anymore,
Yeah,
but
that's true.
yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's gonna be one of those things like, hey, we're going, but don't look up the prices.
Yeah.
But you never know. I mean, we're not the only ones who have that idea to go to the away game, so
True, true.
maybe it holds a little bit, but if they're both bad, it's gonna be late in the season.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, yeah, yeah, it'll be a good time. Like you said, first away game since 2019,
2021.
2021. That's what I meant. In my head, it's like 3 years ago. Um, so my final thought is continuing on with the hilarity of just budgeting and money and quasi politics in a way. Um, the MBTA, right? So for anyone that doesn't know, you're not from around here, right? In Boston, the which even if you're not from Boston, you probably know what the MBTA is because it's just always fucked up. It's literally like catching fire, but it's the transit system, right, in Boston. So um between like, buses and trains and subways and shit like that. So the MBTA released a report today saying that it would cost approximately 24.5 billion with a B dollars to bring the entire system back to a state of good repair.
Excuse me.
So let me read that
State of
again
good repair.
yeah, that's what I was going to focus on. So let me read that again without my emphasis here. I'll just read it as it is. Today, the MBTA released a report saying that it would cost approximately $24.5 billion to bring the entire system back to a state of good repair. A state of good repair. Not completely upgrade to a modern technology system. Nope. The state of good repair. Almost
Not
25 billion dollars just to fix everything and make sure everything works good again.
it's not really too confidence inducing. Not
Yeah. Anytime something like this comes up, I know Nikos is the same way, but anytime I see something like this, I'll always like retweet it and go, and they wanted to have the fucking Olympics in this city.
yeah.
There were
Mm.
legitimately people that were like, oh yeah, no, it would be great if the Olympics came to Boston.
No, people are fucking idiots,
Yeah,
dude.
fuck off.
Yeah.
$25 billion just to fix the MBTA. Again, not to like modernize, make it state of the art, or
Good repair.
completely revamp, right? Completely revamp and brand new, make it brand new. Nope. Just to get it back to a state of good repair. That's fantastic. It's funny because obviously I don't commute into Boston anymore, but when I was and like going into Cambridge, I had thought about potentially maybe trying to take the train every now and then. And I talked to some people like coworkers or other people that work in there, and they're like, "Oh, why don't you just take the train?" And I was like, "You know what? No, no, because I've thought about it a couple times and just no, right? Just knowing how awful the MBTA is and how at any moment it just might blow up, right? Literally, right? That's not hyperbole. Like trains catch fire all the time, preferably or most often the red line. Um, like, and then on top of that, I mean, the red line is just a fucking nightmare because on top of the red line catching on fire, they're also trying to fix some of the stations. So, like, if you take the red line as the other option, right? Like, I could take the commuter rail from Attleboro into South Station, or I could drive to Braintree and take the red line from Braintree. But the red line is god awful. Like at random times, they're like revamping shit. So you have to get off the red line, get on a bus, ride the bus to like two stops down, get back on the red line, and then continue on your way into Boston. It's insane. I would rather just sit in traffic. I
So
honestly would rather sit in traffic.
so Michaela took she actually did that. This was a couple weekends ago. She went to meet a friend at the aquarium. So she goes, all right, she goes, um we'll take the red line from Braintree because they are done with the construction. And I had seen that as well because um or they were done with the construction from Braintree to South. I mean, they're always under construction, something or other, but
Right, right.
and then she sends a picture going, well, I guess we're taking the shuttle. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? It said that they weren't doing that construction anymore. Like service has been restored from Braintree into South Station. So I'm at my mother's cottage. She has the news on, which I love. Someone got shot on one of the platforms. So the fucking, I think it was uh the station in Southie. I don't know which one it is. Um, I think that one was shut. So she had to get off, get on the bus, and skip like two stops or something.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's an absolute joke. Is it Broadway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And actually, right now, yeah. So I'm on the website. So if you pick up Braintree right now, you're good until Andrew.
Yep.
Then you'd have to get off a shuttle and get into South Station.
Yeah.
Uh, Broadway is in between Andrew and South.
Yep. So yeah, it's
Through
an absolute fucking
hole.
disaster. And then trains are never on time, right? So like the commuter rail, right? Because that's the other thing too. If you're gonna rely on this to get to work, right? Like if you need to be in, or back a few months ago, like if I needed to be in Cambridge by 8 a.m., like I couldn't
What's the
rely.
first time? Five?
Yeah, but like I couldn't rely on like a 6:45 train, right? Because what if the 6:45 train is late, right? And like it takes an hour to get there or whatever, right? And then you have to walk from the train station to wherever you need to go, right? So it's like, let alone like if I did need to get into Cambridge, that's just a fucking nightmare because you need to take what the commuter rail all the way into I because there's no direct route, right? So I would have had to take the commuter rail probably to Back Bay
I'm looking at your line now. Yeah, you'd have to go to
and
Back
then
Bay.
Back Bay to change over to the red line. Like it's insane, right? Because you'd have to change over. You need to effectively get on the green line eventually.
I think Back Bay might have the green line.
Yeah, or you could probably take the Back Bay, the orange line, all the way to North Station, right? And then you get to North Station, you can switch over to the green line.
Yep.
So it's like it's absurd. It's just it was so I would have need to take like the 5 a.m. train, right? Or like the 5:15 train, whatever it was. And then God forbid that 5:15 train was late, right? What if it got showed up at 5:30, right? And it's like, oh, cool. Yeah, it's just it's it's ridiculous. The MBTA sucks. It's literally not worth it. Like I said, I would rather sit in 2 hours of traffic than deal with the MBTA.
It's too bad too, because I used to take the commuter rail all the time. Never really had an issue,
Yeah.
but that was also probably a long time ago.
I mean, we also used to take it all the time growing up, right? Like we would always take the Orange Line into Boston, but you're going like 6 stops, right? From Wellington to because we used to get it in Wellington. I know you took the commuter rail probably right into North Station.
Yeah, it was one stop.
Yeah. We um we would just hop on the Orange Line at Wellington. But yeah, it's not even 6 stops, right? Like whatever it is.
Well, it's also different. It's different too when you don't have a car, right? Because I used to take, there were times where I would take the bus to Cambridge, go to my grandmother's, and then like get on the Green Line sometimes because I
Yeah,
could pick up a bus in West Medford. I couldn't pick up Orange or Red without a car.
right, right.
I don't know. I mean, there's a commuter rail that comes to East Weymouth. It's like, I don't know. Can you trust it? Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe not. The boat might be the only thing that you can fucking take.
Seriously. I would trust the boat more than I would trust the subway.
Yeah, I don't know if the boat might be seasonal. She may have looked into that.
Yeah, the boat pass.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, $25 billion just to just to make the MBTA okay. So that's
No
not
better, no worse.
that's not happening most likely. So it was funny to see someone commented underneath and they tagged the governor, Governor Healy, and they were like, they go, maybe if you stop spending money housing illegal immigrants, you can spend some money to fix the transit system in the state. It's funny. People are pissed. Um, because I saw, oh, there's real quick, then we'll actually end things here. But now that like the voting and everything is like tallied up and we're all good and all square, um, I have the list of the 10 states that had the biggest swings toward Trump um versus 2016. Want to guess where Massachusetts fell on the list? Because they are in the top 10.
Like for a ranking?
Yeah,
Um, if it's the biggest swing, fifth.
very close. They're fourth. So number one was New York State of all places, that moved 11.5%
Yeah,
towards Trump.
a lot of people though.
Yeah. Number two was New Jersey, that moved 10.1% towards Trump. Florida, funny enough, was number three. They moved 9.8%. And then fourth place was Massachusetts. Massachusetts moved 8.7% towards Trump from 2016 to, or I'm sorry, from 2020 to 2024.
Shit. Now I don't remember what I said back then. I probably said because you brought this up, and I probably said like it's not even gonna fucking change a thing.
Yeah.
What did he get here? 36?
Yeah, like 36 or 37. That might
Ugh.
have been the
That means
most a Republican has got in this
he
state.
got
And
fucking drilled in 2020 here.
yeah. Um, is there a way to see Massachusetts election percentage? Yeah, U.S. presidential elections in Massachusetts. Yeah, so Donald Trump got 32% in 2020, which means that does that mean he got 40% this year? Or I guess it's not apples to apples because you don't have the same amount of voters, right? If that number changes. But he got 32.1% in 2020, 32.8 in 2016. Mitt Romney got 37 and a half, obviously. Um, John McCain got 36. Bush got 36.8 and then 32.5. So yeah, I mean, people like Republicans haven't gotten anything substantial in this state since Reagan. 51% in Reagan. Massachusetts 2024 election percentage. Because that list didn't give me 24. It only gave me through 2020. Um, yeah, Trump got 37% of the vote this year in the state. So that's the most since Mitt Romney. So yeah. All right. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit subscribe up above, hit the thumbs up down below. Subscribe if you're an audio only guy. Um, if you are audio only and you happen to be listening on Spotify or iTunes, rate and review the show. We'd appreciate that. You can get us on Instagram at Sarcasm Speaks Pod. Twitter is sarcasm_speaks. Facebook is Sarcasm Speaks. Website, sarcasmspeaks.com. Check out the show notes below. Support the sponsors, support us. And until next time, good night, everybody.